about. And use of the doctor to his patient are in terrible shape, and unless something quickly is done, you're going to die. You're under too much stress and you're not eating right. Tell your wife she must start cooking more nutritious meals and help reduce the stress. Have her keep the kids off your back so you can relax. Then make a budget and tell her she has to stick with it. If she does this, you should recover completely. Otherwise, she'll be dead in a month. Obviously shaken, the patient said, "Doc, would you call my wife before I get home and give her those instructions?" When he got home, his wife rushed to him. "I just talked to the doctor," she wailed. Honey, he said you only have 30 days to live." Well, sometimes it seems the father's unappreciated, sometimes underappreciated. And one little boy, when asked to explain about Father's Day, said, "It's just like Mother's Day, only you don't spend as much on the presents." Well, fathers have their own way of thinking. Sometimes we say things that we shouldn't, or we laugh at times our daughters and wives find ridiculous. Happens all the time for me. Fathers seem to have their own sense of humor that wives and children don't get. Fathers sometimes even answer the dreaded "how do I look" question that daughters and wives sometimes ask with your eyes. Have you heard about the mother who left the room in the maternity ward to go down to the nursery and found her husband staring at the newborn baby? The mother could tell that he was captivated by the baby by how intensely he stood there looking down at it. She was so touched that finally she tiptoed up behind him and slipped her arms through his and said, "Honey, what are you thinking?" He said, "I just can't understand how they're able to make a crib like that for only $89.95. Well, sometimes we answer with what's on our mind instead of without thinking. His Father's Day and the first national celebration of this day was June 19th, 1924, by proclamation of President Calvin Coolidge, but it came about because of the efforts of Sandra Smart Dodd. Sandra was sitting in church in 1909 listening to a Mother's Day sermon when the idea of Father's Day first came to mind. Having been raised by her father after her mother's death, Sandra wanted her father to know how special he was to her, for all his parental sacrifices, and for being, in her eyes, so courageous, selfless, and loving. Through her efforts, President Coolidge designated the third Sunday in June as Father's Day, and our nation has been celebrating it ever since. Father's Day gives us a chance to honor those who stand at the helm and lead their family through life's battles. Let's see what we can learn about being a father by looking at God, the perfect Father. God loves his children. Both 1 John 4:19, we love because he first loved us, and Romans 5:8, but God demonstrates his own love for us while we were still sinners. God died for us. Both these verses tell of his love for us. And you guys are going to have to handle the just advance it one. He didn't wait for us to meet his expectations or wait for us to make him proud. He didn't wait until we measured up to his standards. He loved us first, completely, unconditionally. It may anger him when we disobey, sadden him when we stray, but he never stops loving us. Herman Bombeck was an American humorist who achieved great popularity for a newspaper column that described suburban life, home life in the mid-1960s until the late 1990s, as well as many books she put out. She wrote something rather intriguing. She wrote, "When the Lord was creating fathers, he started with a tall frame. An angel standing nearby said, 'What kind of father is that? If you're going to make children so close to the ground, why have you put fathers up so high? He won't be able to shoot marbles without kneeling. He won't be able to tuck a child into bed without bending. He won't even be able to kiss a child without stooping.' God smiled and said, 'Yes, but if I make him child-sized, who will the children have to look up to?' And when God made the father's hands, they were large. The angel shook his head and said, 'I don't think you want to make hands like that. Large hands are clumsy. They can't manage diaper pins, small buttons, rubber bands on ponytails, or even remove splinters caused by baseball bats.' God smiled again and said, 'I know, but they're large enough to hold everything a small boy empties from his pockets at the end of the day, yet small enough to cup a child's face in his hands.' Then God molded long, slim legs and broad shoulders. The angels nearby had a heart attack. 'Boy, this is the end of the week, all right,' he said. 'How is he going to pull a child close to him without the kid falling between his legs?' God smiled and said, 'A mother needs a lap, but a father needs strong shoulders to pull a sled, balance a boy on a bicycle, or hold his sleepy head on the way home from the circus.' God was in the middle of creating two of the largest feet anyone had ever seen when the angel could not be contained any longer. 'That's not fair,' he said. 'Do you honestly think those large boats are going to get out of bed early in the morning when the baby cries, or walk to a small birthday party without crushing at least 3 of the guests?' Again God smiled and he said, 'They'll work, you'll see. They'll scare off mice at the summer cabin and leave footprints that'll be a challenge to follow.' God worked throughout the night and giving the father a few words, but a firm voice and eyes that saw everything. Finally, almost as an afterthought, he added tears. Then he turned to the angel and said, 'Now are you satisfied that he can love as much as a mother?' And the angel was silent. Yes, God does love his children, and so should we. Next slide. God encourages his children. A psychologist tells about going to school as a little boy and failing a test in math. So the teacher wrote a note and sent it home with him. It said, 'Your son just can't handle math.' Well, his dad sat him down and told him, 'Son, I guess you just don't have an aptitude for math.' So from then on, he flunked every math test. He said, 'I never could do anything in math.' Then one day the teacher put a problem on the board and asked the class to solve it. Nobody could figure out the answer. The psychologist said, 'I looked at the problem and suddenly realized that I knew the answer. So I held up my hand and everybody laughed because they knew I couldn't solve it. But I walked up to the blackboard, worked the problem, and came up with the right answer. Then I realized it wasn't my lack of aptitude at all. It was just that everybody had told me I couldn't do math, and because I believed them, I didn't even try.' God encouraged Moses at the burning bush when he told him to deliver a nation, Israel. Exodus 3 tells of Moses and the burning bush. It also tells what God said to Moses when questioned who he was to do what God had told him to do. And if you would, but Moses said to God, 'Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt?' And God said, 'I will be with you, and this will be the sign to you that it is I who have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain.'" That's Exodus 3, 11 and 12. He encouraged Joshua as Joshua set out to conquer the promised land. And that's another slide. "No one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their ancestors to give them." Joshua 1:5. He encouraged them with his words, his presence, and with his assistance. In Joshua 1:9, which is the next slide, have I not commanded you, be strong and courteous and courageous. Do not be terrified. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. God saw the things his children could do, and he encouraged them to go out and do them. Sadly, many parents are more prone to send messages laced with criticism than with encouragement. It's so important to watch our words. The Apostle Paul challenges us, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their need, that it may benefit those who listen. And that should be the next slide, Ephesians 4:29. Well, we talked about a couple of different things there. Here with the next slide, God loves his children. God encourages his children. The third one's God disciplines his children. There's a story about triplets, 3 young boys who got along well. They saw everything alike. They were loyal to each other. If one got into trouble, they wouldn't tattle on each other. A neighbor asked the father, how in the world do you know which one to punish if there's trouble? It's easy. I just send all three to bed without their supper, and the next morning I spank the one with a black eye. That doesn't work real well, but it's kind of a dad joke again. God's good. He's a loving father, yet he disciplines his children. He does not discipline in spite of his goodness. He disciplines because of his goodness. He does not discipline in spite of his love. He disciplines because of his love. In Deuteronomy 8:5, Moses tells the Israelites, know then in your heart that as a man disciplines his son, so the Lord your God disciplines you. And Proverbs 3:15 says, the Lord disciplines those he loves, as a father the son he delights in. The father who disciplines his children wisely is reflecting the character of God. Hebrews 12:10-11. There we go. Our fathers discipline us for a little while as they thought best. But God disciplines us for our good, that we may share in his holiness. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. It is our responsibility to bring our children up in the training and instruction of the Lord. And that's the next, Okay. Our teaching should begin when the children are at a young age. Psalm 78, Deuteronomy 6, and so many Bible passages tell us to teach our children as we sit down and as we stand up, as we walk along, as we lie down, and to pass on from one generation to the next the instructions of God. Now we can do that in the right way, or we can do that in the wrong way. We can create misconceptions about God in the home. A parable is told about 3 fathers who each felt the soft hand of his children in his own hand and realized the responsibility of teaching his children about God. One felt the awesome responsibility that was his, so he taught the child about the power and might of God. As they walked down the pathway of life and came to the tall trees in the forest, he pointed to them and said, God made them. And God caused them to come crashing down, can cause them to come crashing down anytime he wants to. As they walked in the hot sun, he said, this is God's sun, he made it. And he can cause it to be so hot and so intense that the plants in the field will wither and die. Again and again, he hammered home the power of God and how the child must be obedient to God. Then one day they came face to face with God, and the child hid behind his father, afraid to even look, refusing to put his hand in the hand of God. The second father also realized his responsibility to teach his children about God. Hurriedly, he tried to teach all the important lessons he knew. As they looked at the trees, they only stopped for a moment to gaze at them. As they looked at the flowers in the field, they hurried on by. He told stories, but they were hurried and crammed together. He filled the child full of facts, but he never taught him how to live or to love God. Finally, one day at twilight, they came face to face with God, but the child only gave God a casual glance and then turned away. The third father felt the touch of a tender hand and adjusted his steps to the tiny steps of the child. They walked along, stopping to look at all of God's beauty and grandeur. They walked in the fields and picked the flowers. They felt the delicate petals and smelled their fragrance. They watched a bird in flight and another building her nest and laying her eggs and sitting on them until they hatched. They watched all the beauties of nature while the father told his stories, child stories about God, over and over. Finally, one day in the twilight, they saw the face of God, and without hesitation, the child placed his hands trusting into the hand of his heavenly Father. Children need fathers who encourage, discipline, and teach them about a proper relationship with God. What is funny is that no matter how old your children are, they still need their fathers to encourage, discipline, and teach them about God. Discipline changes, but you still need to teach them, help them along. If you're a father, please join me now to pray for God's guidance. Come on down to the altar. Come on, fathers, come on down. See, we have to extract teeth. I know. Gentlemen, here's where it gets fun. If you're one of their loved ones, please join them to pray. Come on. If you're a loved one of theirs, come on up with them. Come pray with them. Now, got it even better. If you have a father that is on your heart that needs God's guidance, I invite you to join us as well. Who knows a father that needs God's guidance? If you do, come up here and join us. Okay. Let's pray. Father, we come before you, humbled by our responsibility, not only to our children, but our grandchildren. Humbled by our responsibility to our spouses, and humbled by their responsibility to you. Humbled by our responsibility to you, Lord. Lord, we ask that you help us encourage others, not just our children, but our spouses, our neighbors, and one another. Lord, we ask that you help us discipline our children the way you would have us, not heavy-handed, not light-handed, but the level of discipline that fits their infraction. Lord, we ask that you help us be like the third man who taught his son about you, taking time to marvel at your creation and telling stories over and over so that our children and our grandchildren will trustingly take your hand and walk with you all the days of their lives. Lord, we ask you to watch over our children and their children, bring them closer to you. If they don't know you, please help them see your love. Help them come to understand you gave your life on the cross for them. And most of all, help get them to the place where they will accept your salvation. Lord, we ask you to watch over our spouses, touch their hearts so that we understand each other better. Help them grow closer to you. And finally, Lord, we ask that you teach each of us, bring us closer, or touch each of us, bring us closer to you. Help us lead our families and be the father that you want us to be. And everybody say, amen. That's all. You may be dismissed.
Others call this